welcome to the Craic Comedy Club podcast. We've got Danny Ryan.
Danny Ryan.
Hey guys, how you doing?
At long last.
Thanks for coming on.
Hey, no problem at all. I was coming in anyway. That's
Yeah.
the only reason I did it. I would not have come especially. But no, I was happy to come in. Beautiful day today. I got the train in, and when I was walking actually down from Houston, I saw a guy, this Brazilian guy. Well, actually, I'm casting aspersions, but he was topless and ripped, and you know, I thought to myself, if I was topless,
I'd be Brazilian.
or I'd be arrested. I thought, I'm like, with my body, I don't know. It's like someone. I think if I undid enough buttons, someone would come up and say, "Are you okay?" Like, what's the? I don't know if you can physically look like you have a mental illness, but that's what my body looks like. You know, it's like the gut. I've got psoriasis. People would be like, "No, please stop!" Like, people are looking at this guy like, "Nice, that's the right way to go."
Well, he's just looking for a doctor.
Yeah,
Openly.
yeah.
Does anyone have a diagnosis of this?
Yeah, you guys got creams or?
Yeah. Like,
just walk around topless in St. James's Hospital.
Yeah.
like, there's no denying white privilege, but if you're out of shape and white with your top off, it's not
you lose
good.
a lot.
White always looks worse topless.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like ripped, I think you obviously get away with it fine. Yeah, or if you're really skinny, if you're like wiry, I think there's a lot of guys walking around in parks like that, and they just look like they probably box at like the lowest weight level. You know what I mean? Like he's like half your weight, but he could still kick your ass. You know what I mean?
Like,
Those guys
like my favorite weight, the featherweight.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
like you know, you can kill someone with a punch, but you still call it a feather.
Yeah.
Like that can't be that good.
What's lower, welterweight or featherweight?
Oh, don't get me started on
Welter.
boxing
Welter
weights.
sounds funnier than
Yeah,
feather.
what is a welter?
You're so skinny you develop welts.
Oh, right.
I don't know.
You have
And
no
that's
idea.
like just above Veruca weight.
yeah. Bed sore weight.
You start off. I'd be tumor weight, just like big tumors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever exercise? Did you ever do?
Oh no! Now I'm being put to the pin of my collar. Yeah, I exercised. Say in the 2000s, early 2000s.
Anything you enjoy? I find it.
Well, I used to play sport when I was younger. Like I played soccer and like to a fairly good level, and I stayed fit doing that. But then I discovered pints and girls and stuff like that. I say girls. I mean, let's not. It wasn't some crazy. No, I had a girlfriend.
I discovered a girl.
yeah. I discovered woman, and no, I never really get exercise that much. You know, like once a year, I'll do the like. Now I run. You know what I mean? Now I start running, and I'll go and like run around the park, and I'll time it, and you like, you know, you look at yourself in the mirror when you get back. You're like, I think I lost a little. I think it is falling off pretty quickly, but I never keep it up. No, I don't at all. I honestly. As a PSA to any young people out there, I mean, I smoke and I struggle with stairs. Like, there's 2 flights down to the toilets here. It's fine doing it once. The second time I do it, I'm like, I should have just, you know, shat as much as I could the first time because my legs can't take this. Like,
I'm still out of breath from those
Yeah.
stairs.
Yeah, bring a 5-litre bottle into the backstage area of the Craic Den.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been focusing in the first few minutes a lot on your appearance unnecessarily. I think you look well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Thank
me
you.
too. That's what I was asking if you exercise.
Yeah.
No. You guys probably just don't remember that I was like 3 stone lighter before the pandemic. You probably just remember me looking like this, but I look at pictures from like 2020. When I see pictures now, like in the Comedy Crunch, for instance, they have like a camera side stage, like a GoPro side stage. I can't use any of that footage because it's side on, and the gut is there, and I know people. You know, they're not looking at me going, he was a lot funnier when he was skinny. But you know what I mean? I just can't fucking look at it. No offense to anyone who is my weight.
Anyone who looks like me, I'm sorry.
No, yeah. I'm sorry to the looks like me community. Shout out to Steve Bennett. No, I can't. Even you got a picture of me here last night. I was gigging here last night. It was a lovely gig. What a great room. What a fabulous room you guys run. And
Thanks, man.
and when I saw the picture, it was on Instagram, and I never like put a filter or anything on Instagram, but my face was so red. I was like, it looked like I was being put like under severe physical pressure just to stand still and talk into a microphone. I was like beat red. I was like, let me just put some, maybe black and white is the one for this. Scrolling across.
Black and white saves a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I get that. The bright red ears, I'll get the bright red ears and the red nose, and everything else is just pale.
Yeah, the best angle of me is from like 2017. That's
Send us a headshot. Oh, you'll find it on the best newcomer award.
Yeah,
back in the
yeah,
day or something.
yeah. It's my high school yearbook photo.
The hope in my eyes.
Yeah.
When did you start comedy?
I was actually just talking with Kevin O'Sullivan about this last night. I think I started in 2013, so I think I'm on my 10-year anniversary. Might be like coming up soon.
Hey.
So obviously 2 years off for COVID, and then, I mean, your first year you barely gig. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't living in Dublin, so I just came up and did like an open spot at the Halfpenny, where a lot of people in Ireland start off.
Yeah.
And then did another one of those like 6 months later, and supported a friend of mine for a gig in Dolan's. And I think that was like the totality of my first year's gigs. You know what I mean? Like, so it was very slow to start. Like,
Good gigs? Good first gig?
I think my first gig was good. Yeah.
Any joke from that first gig that you still use?
Oh, I found like I used to like type out like a script almost, like, you know, I don't do that anymore. You know, I have notes in a book or whatever that you go off, but I found one from like my second year. I did like a corporate gig. Again, just a friend of mine worked for Benefit Cosmetics, so I got to do this big gig. Got like 300 quid for it, which then I thought, oh, I'm going to be doing these all the time. You find out you're not.
That's the benefits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you went from benefits gig to being on benefits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I found that, yeah, and I didn't use anything from that. It's possible I used a stay-at-home dad joke, because I've had that for a long, long time. I don't always do it anymore. Just every now and then I throw it in, but that's probably the longest lasting joke. It's just like a guaranteed laugh.
It's
so
a
you
great
just
bit. Yeah.
That's funny.
But you really gotta
say
bin
it with
it.
such conviction. I remember I saw you do that bit years ago, and I was like, "Congrats, man! I didn't know you had a kid." And you're like, I don't.
Yeah, everyone thinks that I have a child.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why they would after you saying it on stage. I wonder.
But it's remarkable how much of my stuff, like, I basically don't say anything true. I know some comedians do, like, you notice a lot of American comics in particular, like, they'll just say true stuff and then but joke about it. Like, almost nothing I say is true. Like, I just invent funny scenarios. You know what I mean? I just write jokes just for the pure purpose of being funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But people will often come up to you after shows. Oh, you know, is that you're with this, or, you know, you've done this? I'm like, no, I haven't done any of that.
Congrats
like,
on transitioning. It's like, no,
Yeah,
I didn't.
yeah.
So you killed your granny too? Yeah, well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Particularly, I remember doing a gig before. I think it was in Whelan's, and this American woman came up to me afterwards, and she had like her hands on her hips, and she was like shaking her head, and she was like, I don't think any of that is true. Like, as if the great detective had figured me out.
She's
You know
a
what I mean?
Columbo. Great gig. She turns to walk away and turns back. And another thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a kid or a wife or a family.
Did you really get wanked off on the train on the way up here? I don't think you did.
Did you throw semen at that doctor? I don't think so.
Yeah.
It is funny that, isn't it? Yeah, there's an expectation in stand-up that what the person is saying should be true or is true. But if you listen to a band, it's not like every song that they sing has to be their perspective. You know, where they can do like that has to be true.
Yeah, it's not all autobiographical. Like, and you would maybe a little bit more if you're doing like MCing or crowd work or something. Do a little bit more, just kind of talking about your day, or when you're talking to people, you might say true things back to them. You know what I mean, to relate to them. But in terms of writing jokes, I mean, I've written some true things, but you know, for the most, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
What's
And
the difference?
Can start as true, but then the more jokes you add, whatever's the funniest part,
Yeah.
you just do that.
Yeah.
And then it becomes just like its own entity.
Yeah.
What is truth anyway?
Yeah, what is true? Like I'll say true things that have been just for therapy.
Yeah, I think if people ask that about persona, you know what I mean? About having a persona on stage. I guess I do, you know what I mean? But like Damo even said to just before we started the podcast, he's like, oh, your character on stage is so this. I don't really intend it to have a character, but I suppose I do, you know what I mean? I don't speak that way in real life, you know what I mean? But I never said like, oh, I'm going to be this.
Yeah.
As Damo said, someone with a terrible life. I mean, that's not my intention in real life.
I don't intend to have an awful life.
Yeah.
It is true.
That's what's so funny.
All your bits, you're like, yeah, my life's really tragic.
Yeah.
But you're saying like you're such a jokey. It's high status, but things aren't going great, and that's why it's so funny.
Again, yeah, that's not intentional. That's just I don't know. It's just funnier to make fun of yourself. I remember there's a comedian. I won't name him, but I don't think he's in Ireland anymore. But he used to be over here. He's like a good-looking guy. very, like, for a comedian, very handsome. You know what I mean?
On the comedian scale of the chats.
Yeah. He was like really well built or whatever. I was like judging a comedy competition, and he was on, and
all my brain is doing is thinking who this is. But sorry, go on.
Yeah. And
tell it who it is, and if you join our Patreon, we'll let you.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I can't remember his second name anyway. So, but yeah, we were judging this comedy competition, and you're just doing like 7 minutes or 5 minutes even maybe. And his opening bit was like, so I'm on Tinder and I get like, a lot of requests, like all these girls want to come over and like suck me off, and one of them comes over, she's giving me like the best blowjob ever, and I'm like, nobody can relate to this. Like, what are you fucking talking about? All the guys in the audience go, yeah, I know what it's like when 5 different girls want to suck you off in one night. It's like nobody has lived this. So he'd be like, but it's funny. I'm like, maybe it is funny, but it's not. Like, nobody can say, oh, at least I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? Which is, I think, a lot of people like that in comedy. You know what I mean?
Unless the killers are in the audience, or
exactly.
It has to be, at least I'm not that guy, and not, I really want to be that guy. If that's the case, you're like,
yeah, it's tough.
Was it a Canadian comic?
Yeah.
Jesse. Okay, I got it. I knew.
My lips are sealed, apart from confirming those things. Yeah. I'm sure you guys have had this where, like, people in your life, like when they find out you're doing comedy or whatever, they're like, "Oh, don't talk about me now when you're on stage," and you're like, "I have nothing to say about you." So like, it's like your grandaunt, and I'm like, what would I say? You drink red wine at lunch. It's too much. You know what I mean? It makes people uncomfortable. It's not that, it's not that funny.
You're a bit tragic, but not tragic enough for myself.
Yeah. So Irish older people, right? They're obsessed with like privacy and secrecy and people like not knowing your business. You know what I mean? It's like, don't tell anyone that now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I was younger, she'd like, if I owed her a fiver or something, if I came back to give it to her, if there was someone else there, she'd be like, come into the kitchen, and I'd be like, what's the difference? But recently I was there, and a friend of hers is in an old folks home, right? And Deirdre Buckley is the woman's name, right? So I'll be skinned alive for this if she hears it. I don't know how the fuck she'd hear it, but
unnecessary name drop.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sorry, Miss Buckley.
Won't mention Jesse, but
Mrs. Buckley's going straight in the shit. So she's in like a retirement home or like an old folks home, And me and my grandmother were talking about how great it was Ireland won the Six Nations, and my grandmother would watch the match or whatever. And she said, "Did you know Deirdre Buckley? She's in the old folks home." And then she goes, "And this doesn't leave these 4 walls, right?" And I was like, okay, like, what are you going to tell me? She was like, honestly, I don't want anyone going around talking about this. And I was like, okay, drop it on me. She was like, for the Six Nations match, they brought a telly into the common room and they all watched it together. That was it. That was it. This doesn't leave these 4 walls. If like, this gets out, I'm like, who the fuck would I even tell?
They will close down that old folk home. If they hear of the shenanigans.
Buckley would be arrested on the spot.
And at halftime, an orgy broke out. How bad could it be?
You can tell that part.
Tell the orgy bit, but not
I'm like, what could possibly have happened in this scenario? I borrowed toilet roll off her. I didn't give it back to her. That would be obscene. But I was in her house and I was like, oh, can I grab a toilet roll? Because I remembered I didn't have toilet roll in my house and I wouldn't go to a shop before I go home. And she's like, yeah, do you have a bag with you? And I was like, yeah, it's just out in the car. She's like, well, wrap it up in something when you're bringing it out to the car. And I'm like, why? She's like, what if the neighbours see you? I was like, they'll know you have family that shits. Like, I mean, what?
They'll think you're going to Deirdre's. The Six Nations was on, and you're the tissue. The stories will be told.
It's like, if they think I've raised a family that doesn't have toilet roll in their house, and they have to come to me for it. Like, I have no idea. But it's just.
What was the possible secrecy around the Six Nations? Why would she have wanted
absolutely nothing? There was nothing expressed to me that could be considered a secret.
Do you think it's just a nice little rhetorical trick where they're like, and this doesn't leave the 4 walls? She's just building drama. She's just telling the story in a nice or no, it's legit.
There'd be all sorts of things. I was here's another example. I moved into a new house like last year, and I needed a bed. I'm just one of those guys, gotta have a bed. And when I got the bed from some friend of hers that was moving house. It's like this lovely bed or whatever, and she said, "I'll get you some duvet covers and pillowcases too." My granny did, and I was like, "Oh yeah, cool, yeah." She said, "But I'll tell her they're for this Nigerian family that I know that needs them, that needs the bedding," and I was like, "Why?" She's like, "Well, I don't want her to think you're kind of taking everything from the whole bed." And I'm like, "Why not? I'm buying the bed. I'm paying this woman for it. Why can't she know?" And like, you're introducing this extra element of a Nigerian family. What if she has to meet them? You know what I mean? Does this family even fucking exist?
Where's this duvet?
Yeah. The thing was, I was picking up the duvet at the same time. So she's like, "Now just mention to her that this," yeah, so just say it fast. Like, so she had already informed her that this wasn't for me, because I only need the bed. I'm not destitute. I just need the bed. I don't need bedding, right? So I have to say when I'm picking it up, she's like, "Oh, and that's not for you. That's for the Malalas or whatever." Like, and I'm like, "Yes, that is for the Nigerian family." She's like, "Well, I bring it to no, I'll drop it off to them. I'll bring it to them."
Yeah. And let me be clear, it fits this bed.
Yeah.
It's the right size for this bed, because they have the same bed.
They actually have the same bed. Yeah, that's why it's been set up like this. Yeah, it's just.
I don't sleep with covers. I don't like. It's restricted for me. But I know this family down the road love covers and pillows.
I know everything has Ferrari F1 on it. Everything, but it's just a coincidence as well. All right. They love F1. I love F1. There's a lot of F1 going around town these days.
I noticed that a lot with just families in general. There was a lot of what will the neighbours think. There's a real
100%.
Like, it's maybe not as bad now, but it really was what the neighbours think. I think in Australia it's similar to America in the way of like, "Oh, what are the Johnsons next door doing? I want to get that. I want to get better." So you just want to show off. "Oh, I got a better lawnmower. I got a better whatever it is." But here there was like, "No, don't be telling that to anyone." You know, I don't know what is that the Catholic thing or something?
It's a weird human thing, isn't it? Like, you compare yourself to your neighbours. You don't compare yourself to people on the other side of town.
Yeah.
Even though you might be more in direct competition with them. But if your neighbour won the lotto, you'd be like, "Oh, fuck them." You know?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's all like in group, out group thing. You know what I mean? It's like, so if you're part of a community, if you seen to be doing something that's like not what someone else would do or whatever, you know what I mean? That's And Ireland was just
like
shame.
giving duvet to your
like giving duvets away.
Yeah.
It's all shame. You know what I mean? There's so much of that in Ireland. Like, that's what it was. Like, you know what I mean?
We're just like, we'll take the shame. Like, we're in the basement of six flats, and we're in the bottom. We're right down. But we have the courtyard, so everyone looks down into our basement courtyard, right? It's surrounded by walls. And we have these like Oscar the Grouch type old trash can looking bins, right? Metal things. And then in the winter we just burn stuff in them, you know, and stand around it like we're like, you know, like.
Are you like in an 80s like teen movie kind of thing?
You know that you see in a New York Christmas movie.
Fucking St. Elmo's Fire or
like
something.
fingerless gloves and all that.
Fingerless gloves.
Like one night we had any wooden furniture that's outside long enough will weaken. So we were smashing wooden chairs, putting them in, and you know that they see this somewhere. They know they're looking down on us, and we're just like the hillbillies of the.
That's not like, "Oh, the neighbours, they're not really keeping up. The Joneses keeping up to the standards of our block." That's more like, "Oh, they're criminals. They're burning
there's vandals
rubbish.
outside.
There's vandals.
And at first,
what's that black fume coming in my window?"
Yeah. And at first, of course, Sandra was like, "I don't like what the neighbours will be looking at," you know. And then after a few drinks in, you just settle into it and be like, "Yeah, come on down, we're having a great time. You want some sausages?"
Wait for Halloween, burn it all.
Yeah, it is. Do you know, in Canada, man, like some of the, say there's a row of houses and they're backed onto another row of houses. Some areas, they just don't have any fences. So everyone's backyard is one massive
it's just
backyard.
shared. Yeah.
It's odd. I was there as a kid
That
and
is
I remember
odd.
that. You're right, but it is great. But you can't have the shame thing. It's just like...
But it depends a lot on your... You know, like if you have a neighbour that like sunbathes or something like that, and then you like to go out and like have a drink, stuff like that, it'd be a bit odd. Like,
if you've got a baby and your neighbour's got a Rottweiler,
that's
a problem.
There's a culture clash there between babies and killer dogs. You'll see they rub up together the wrong way. Yeah.
Pet alligator out the back. Like, can I get a fence?
Yeah. I don't know how that started. Maybe like one person had a lawnmower and they're like, "I'll mow your lawn, eh?" And they just do the whole thing. But
just mow up the fence, just blade up the fence. We're sharing now.
Yeah, and all the other, like if you did have fences, they'd be like, "What are they doing down there?" You know? Maybe that kind of thing.
That's too friendly. I've nothing wrong with a fence. You know, I want
fences are nice. I like a fence.
If I have a garden someday, I'd like a fence.
I like a fence. I do like a fence because I remember maybe I was like 6 or 7. But I went in because all the houses looked the bloody same. So I went into another house which I thought was my auntie's, and went to the toilet. And I vaguely remember she was like, because the toilet was upstairs. So like, this old woman heard this. She thought someone had broken into her house.
Yeah.
And I was like, doing a shit, whatever. And she was like, I just remember like, who's up there? And I was like, it's Damien. And she goes, where are you from? And I went, Australia. And like she was like, what the? It took her a while to figure out what was. She just meant like which, like where, what house. When she heard it was a kid's voice, she must have thought, just some kid came in.
And it's very rare that if there's a burglar and you say who's there, that they respond with their first name. It's just Danny. Have you broken it? Yeah, I'm taking your shit. I'm just letting you know.
You're out of toilet paper. It freaked me right out.
One thing when you're leaving, she's like, just hide that toilet paper on your way.
Hide the toilet paper.
Don't show it.
I think our generation has less of the shame. I think especially when you're like in college and stuff, you'd be like showing off to people like, oh, and have you seen this? When you turn on the oven, the door falls off. You know, you'd be like, you're like, this is pretty cool. It heats up and the glue, it comes off. So you really have to watch that. You know what I mean? People be like, oh, nice. They'd be like, when I turn on the tap, foam comes out. We don't know what the foam is, but there's always foam before the water. You're like, oh, nice.
That's true. When it's student accommodation, the more dodgy the thing is, the funnier it is, and then they call everyone over. They're toasters, man. It's sideways. You put the cheese on top, and then it goes in, and then
we have come a long way.
Yeah, we've really thrown off the shackles.
How does your granny feel about you doing stand-up?
She's never seen me. No, she's never seen me. She's always asking like when I'm in Limerick. Now there isn't.
She's one of our Patreons, though.
She
loves the podcast.
She is.
She's never seen. No, I think she's very happy for me. I think she always seems to suggest that I should have another job as well. You know what I mean? If, say, do it for 10 years, like I'm full time now, and like thankfully busy all the time, and she'd still be like, would you? There's a job going now. They're hiring down at the factory for people to tear the ears off the pigs or whatever. Like, and I'd be like, yeah, but I'm doing this and I'm happy. You know what I mean? She'd be like, but it'd be money coming in. I'm like, I'm get paid. But no, she's never seen me. She's always asking like when I'd be in Limerick or whatever. But I think my act is
Yeah, but you can say beforehand and go, none of this is true, which is correct.
Yeah.
So like you could appeal to anyone and they can't be offended. Maybe throwing semen around, but apart from that,
it's still tough. It's still tough. With your granny in the audience, it's tough.
It's tough, yeah. I because sometimes you do gigs and you'd have like older people there and stuff, and sometimes like I don't mind that, like it's not like they can't take it or whatever, like, but I don't know their sensibilities going in. I know her sensibilities. You know what I mean?
My grandaunt, I don't think she fully gets what stand up is.
Yeah.
So anytime I talk to her, she's like, "And are you in with RCE yet?" And I'm like, "Well, no." She goes, "Oh, someday now you'll be in with." I was like, "That's not the end goal." Just to There's there's a scene, there's gigs, things are good. She goes, "RCE now, or you might do that teaching someday too. You were very good at English in school." I was like, "Get me out of here."
Yeah. Do you think that's back to what the neighbours think? Because they want to say, "Oh, how's your grandson doing? Oh, he's doing he's got a civil service job." You know, it's so they can tell other people.
And it's the institution. It's like they're in with the institution. They have security. It's in RCE.
Yeah.
Or it's in a school. They love a good institution.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, you're like, well, what are you? If you've nothing,
Yeah.
They want.
Whereas like my mum like loves that I do comedy. Like she loves that I'm doing something creative. I think she always thought I would. Like she's never said you should stop and become a copywriter. You know what I mean? Like,
and she's seen you a few times.
Yeah, she's seen me a good few times. Yeah.
Nice.
And she enjoys it. Like, my dad's seen me like twice. He would make me more nervous just because I just don't think he'd laugh that much. You know what I mean? Like he's not serious. He's not like a super serious guy. Like he jokes around, but I just don't feel like I'd be like splitting his sides or whatever. And you'd be just what if there's someone close to you, you just be looking at them. Yeah, my sisters have gone to see me. That doesn't faze me at all. Like that's fine.
This generation.
Yeah.
It's only been like the 2 generations really. Because my granddad went to see me once. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't like that brass monkey." That was the name of the venue.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't what they're used to as far as entertainment.
Yeah, they want to see you in the in the Brendan Grace, somewhere with the red seats and
theatre type.
the theatre, yeah.
Yeah, a club is too dingy for me, It's
It's weird because I think a lot of people that you talk to outside, you would say they have no good concept of what you're doing or what goes on. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of my dad's family or whatever, like they would do things like tell you a joke from a Brendan Grace show and tell you that you can have that now. And I'm well, no, I can't. Like, you know what I mean? First of all, it would be insane for me to do a joke like that in the middle of my set. Also, I don't even know what Brendan Grace said because you just fucking murdered it. Like you just diced it. What does he say now? And then he said, something about knickers. What was it? You know what I mean? And it's like, you can use that now in your set. I'm like, you don't get to give me that permission. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Unless they're the writer. That does not make sense.
But on that RTE thing, I think a lot of people, it's an assumption. I think with a lot of people in the arts that you're doing it so that you'll be famous or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Which isn't something that's in your head really a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
No.
Maybe for some people they have that in their head. You know what I mean? But like, I never had in my head like, geez, I want to be worldwide famous. I thought I want to be able to do this professionally, and the more successful I am, the better. Sure, and fame, I guess, could come with that. But also there's some Daniel Kitson isn't famous at all from the UK, and he's amazingly successful at comedy. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of people like that. So I don't think of it in my head, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who get a small loyal following. Yeah, because they're just a great act, and then they have a good career off the back of that. And that's probably a much better place to be. Yeah, fame is so fickle in the first place. Yeah, you're famous one day and then you're hated the next day. Yeah, and on top of that, if you're getting recognized too much,
that's the thing.
Kitson,
I don't want to.
Kitson can go to a gig. He'll have a nice fucking sold out whatever size theater he does. Yeah, and he can go to the shop and not be bothered.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I stopped myself from getting as famous as Madonna or something. You know what I mean? Because I just think it'd be a hassle in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because obviously that option is open to me.
Yeah. It's very hard to go pick up a duvet in your granny when you're that famous.
Oh, she's never going to believe this is for some Nigerian family.
Paparazzi outside taking pictures. It's for the family.
It's for the family down the road.
Oh, they never believe me anymore.
He must have adopted them, did he? Take that pointy bra off. Come on.
She's gotten a lot of work done recently.
Madonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 albums, I think. No, yeah, she does look different. I mean, I don't want to point the finger at plastic surgery, but maybe her diet's changed or whatever. But she does. There's something. She looks a lot different. Yeah.
Speaking of different, Re-Raw beer.
Oh my God.
Crisp.
Look at this, brought in bag of cans from Re-Raw, Wicklow brewed.
Truly the taste of Wicklow, the taste of the Garden County.
It is the Garden County, isn't it, Wicklow? Yeah. One giant garden.
That's one of the ones I remember. There's a lot of the ones that I don't remember what kind of county it is.
I love the flag. What's the flag colours for Limerick? What's the Limerick?
Green and white.
City, but what's the
the Treaty County?
Treaty.
Yeah, there was a treaty signed there to end a war. On it, so we've got a treaty stone that apparently it was like signed on. I don't know if anyone. I cannot commit to the veracity of the stone actually having a treaty signed on it. But yeah, it's the Treaty County, green and white. Yeah.
There you go. Green and white that's good, man. That's Ireland. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a solid colour. Yeah.
It's the flag without the Protestant bit.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That fucking orange out of here.
Yeah. Kildare's my favourite. Isn't that just white?
Just white.
They're surrendering already. Or lazy. All right, lads, we need to add a colour to this. And they're like, forget about it.
Done, right.
We ran out of ink.
But yeah, big thanks to Re-Raw.
Oh, Re-Raw, wow.
We've got to give them a proper shout out. Yeah, lovely, light and fresh lager from brewed in Kilcool in Wicklow.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool, that's refreshing. 4.5%.
And I've been in AA for 2 years, but this is worth it. You know what? Sometimes you just got to step out and say.
Yeah. That's one of your gigs tonight is the meeting. Sorry, lads. I've been sober for 4 minutes.
Yeah. My name is Danny, and I just tried Re-Raw beer.
Now, I know a lot of you guys are off the drink, but if you were to go back, I couldn't recommend anything more.
There's one thing I've learned from you guys over the last few years is that you're all great crack when you have a sip. So get into it. Oh man, I did during the lockdown. I did a gig in a rehab center.
Oh yeah,
and they were in there for like 3 months so far. It was during the pandemic, but they hadn't been mingling with anyone else since. Yeah. So there's no masks or anything in there because they're all family and blah blah blah. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And then we went in with masks, and they're like, "Yeah, don't worry about that." They were like, "Cool." And there was a quadrangle in the middle, or whatever.
And you're like, "I have COVID."
Don't worry about it. Grand. And there was, and it was the women's one. There was a men's one and the women's one, right? And we did the men's one, grey crack, and the women's one, grey crack, and there was babies and everything in there, like they're raising the babies together and stuff like that.
Oh, I thought you meant we just had some alcoholic babies.
That was one of my first jokes. It was like, man, those babies are hardcore if they're on rehab already. It's 4 months old. Like, what were they doing?
So both parents are in rehab, or
no? What? Just like the mum and the baby.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So if the mum was going through rehab, they're like, yeah, man, bring your baby, bring your kid.
Yeah,
and it was meant. And I tell you what, that they were up for it. So I was like, man, you don't need anything else. If you're this much crack, sober, good Lord, you must have told her move down. So we finished the gig, and then they were just like, we put on music over the speakers. And they were like, Maniac 2000, Maniac 2000. And like, this is in the daytime, daylight. We turned it on, the speakers outside on the grass. And then there was a rave, man. They just were raving. They were pushing the buggies back and forth and jumping around.
Damo was selling yokes.
Oh, yeah.
I knew this would happen.
Made a fortune.
Anyone want a re-raw? Anyone want a re-raw?
Tell your friends.
You're not in for yokes, though, are you? You're not in for yokes. It's just going to make you drink water. It's fine.
Of course, you've got bottles of water to sell after as well.
Yeah,
what's the weirdest place you've done a gig?
Oh, so I did a gig before. So there was like a mental health awareness thing on in for a factory. I can't remember the name of the factory, but it was in like an industrial estate in Limerick. And you're almost like, okay, if you come in at like 7:30 and they'll just be coming off their shift and you'll do like a gig for them, we don't know, in the canteen or something like that. And I was like, okay. And then the day before, she sent me a message. She was like, just want to check you're okay for tomorrow morning still. And I was like, what do you mean by the morning? And she was like, oh, sorry, yeah, it'll be at 7 a.m. And I was like, what? I was like, what? So it's for people coming off their night shift, right? So I had to be there at 7 a.m.
They probably just want to go home.
Of course.
Direct.
But they were given like the last half hour off work. But I was like, oh, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is a terrible idea.
That's the least funny time of the day.
Yeah, it's unbelievably unfunny. Like, and
what's your regular get up time?
Like 11:30.
Yeah.
Oh, I just stayed up. I'm sure. You know what I mean? Like I don't go to sleep till like
the night shift too.
Yeah, I don't get to sleep till like 3:30 or 4 anyway. Like ever since I was a teenager, not just from comedy. So I went in there, and first of all, it wasn't even in the canteen. It was in and just like a disused room. What they did, they made like catheters and implants for people who can't piss. Right? That's what the factory did. So I was in a big room full of boxes of these, like, I don't know, faulty ones or whatever. Ones that put piss in you by accident or whatever. There's like 25 people just sitting in like school chairs in the middle of the room. And then a guy comes over to me who works there, and he's like, do you want me to say you're a comedian? And I'm like, yes, please. That's going to be important. Yeah. And he's like, okay. And so he went up to the top of the room, and they didn't know. Nobody who was there knew why they were there. They were just like, oh, you can go to this thing.
The worst.
And he goes up, he said, we've got a comedian for you now, Danny Ryan. And that was it. He just walked off. And I mean walked off, like he didn't even stay in the room. He just like left, he just walked away.
I don't want to hear this.
Yeah. And
I'm going to bed.
as I was like walking to the front of the room, a woman in the back row goes, we won't laugh. I was like, yeah, I know you won't fucking laugh. You know what I mean? But it was like, I was.
Did you win a few of them over?
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't as bad as it, like, it wasn't just dead silence.
Did she laugh?
Put it this way, I had a worse Edinburgh gig than that. You know what I mean? I've had a worse Edinburgh gig than that. But I actually, and then I came back there a year later because I'm a fool and the money was good. So, and did another one at like midnight for people coming off the night shift. And that was in the canteen, and it was, but only like 6 people came. So it was just like 6 people, and they just sat like on the windowsills and stuff. And there's no mic, there's no stage, there's nothing like that. It's just me standing there right in front of them, just like telling stories.
Comedy at its rawest form.
Yeah, now that one was fucking awful. Like, they barely laughed. Like, they were super self-conscious. I was obviously like, you know, I tried to, you know, find out something so you could like take the piss out of them and they might join in a little bit. They just tell me nothing. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be like, which one is always late? Which one has sexually assaulted someone here? You know what I mean? Like, you're just trying to like say anything, so you'll say something back, and they're just like,
It's amazing what the microphone does.
Yeah,
if you've got a microphone, it just differentiates that. People will tell you more.
Yeah,
if you're just a person without a microphone, they're like, oh, why are you asking me?
I can imagine, like, I wouldn't. There's no fucking way I, as a comedian, would go and see a comedian in that circumstance. I would be just cringing so hard, you know. I'm sure they were just felt so sorry for me, like, you know what I mean. I kept saying, no, don't worry, I'm getting paid well, because that's what I'm telling myself. The money.
If you meet my gran, I am getting paid.
Yeah. But yeah, that was very strange. I've done another like factory one like that where we were standing at the top of a hill and they were at the bottom of a hill. In front of like a food and drinks table. They're just like having nachos and triangle sandwiches, you know, the lovely funeral sandwiches, and we're just at the top with a mic and a small lamp outside. That was bizarre as well, because people are just milling about. They weren't like paying attention.
Yeah, you'd be lucky to get attention for one single joke.
Yeah, exactly.
And then moved on in their world, their life.
There's no fucking way you could tell a story. You know what I mean? You're not like, you set one up and then the callback is at the end, because people would be like, you'd be like, you say it, they'd be like, in reference to what?
We didn't listen to any of that before. What was that?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then you've travelled a bit. Any mad places or favourite places that you've gone? And even like gigs or not.
Before I ever did comedy, I lived in Mexico for a while.
You live there?
Because I was here in Ireland. I lost my job and my girlfriend broke up with me within like the same week. And I was like,
that's like the start of a movie.
I was like, I should leave the country.
I get the point, guys. Okay.
All right. I'm going.
You looked on the other side of the globe and went, all right, I'm off.
Yeah, pretty much. I went to Cancun. I did like work for stay there. You know what I mean? Like, so you're like working in the hostel, doing like promo for the, like, or working as a barman or whatever. I dressed up as a giant Corona bottle to do promo before, like handing out flyers and stuff. And then it was like that day. I was.
They mentioned the coronavirus.
Actually, there was swine flu while I was over there. But yeah, So I was dressed as a Corona bottle, and I had to get up at like 6 o'clock that day because I had to get a bus somewhere else to go on like a bus tour where I'm like the Corona bottle hosting the fucking tour. I don't know what the fuck, right? Honestly, I was just doing anything so they could let me stay because I was drinking all my money. So I was like, I can't give you any money for the room, like, you know. And I remember like going back to the hostel that day, and I was still. I mean, this is like a giant outfit. Like, I've got the foam head up here. I've got like arms and the yellow going down my legs or whatever. if you excuse
a lot of
me,
Coronas.
I had the reverse catheter in, fuck's sake, right? But I went in and I like sat down on my like hostel bed, and the bottle top of the Corona was like folded down because it was a bunk bed. You know what I mean? Like, see the cap in front of me, and I was like, I realized I was like, this hasn't really fixed my problems as such. You know, this trip is like, I think I still have the same anxieties about where my life is going. You know what I mean?
And then someone came, like someone just moved into the hostel, went in to see their bed.
Yeah,
there's
this is the sad Corona bottle.
Hi, my name is Danny. I haven't drank in 3 days.
Yeah.
I feel so empty inside.
Yeah, that was.
You got a slice of lemon?
Looks like you're bitter enough already, mister. Yeah, so I remember I came back from there. Probably the best thing about that trip, but like, you know, it was a fun trip. I was there for like 6 months or 7 months or something. But when I came back to Limerick, I didn't tell any of my friends I was coming back, you know. And my best friend was working in like Panasonic and Savins. So it's like a music shop, TV shop. Anyone in Limerick would know it. I just like rocked up at like 2 p.m, you know. One day he hadn't seen me in like 7 months, and I was like, hey, it's me, I'm back. And he was like, hey. He was like, fucking hell, let's go get a drink or whatever. I was like, yeah. We're like, walking up the road. We go into a pub. We sat down, and he goes, "Oh wait, I'm the only one working." Fucking sprinted out the door. There's a shop full of TVs and fucking guitars and stuff. I love that he just saw me. He was like, "Pints, that's it. Don't close the shop. Just fucking walk out the door."
Someone's like, "Hello." Someone's trying to work a washing machine. "Hello, is anyone?" You have that effect on people, man.
Yeah.
Around is like, "Let's get drinks."
Oh God Almighty, that sounds bad.
We're all just going to leave the Crackdown halfway through the show tonight.
Yeah.
Danny.
Danny's going to the bar. Come on, let's everybody. Man, how was Mexico? Like, did you love that? Did you love being there?
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool, but it was very it was so you could not have been more running away from your problems. You know what I mean? Like, it's like stuff that you're like, instead of solving the problem in my head, I'll just move my body. You know what I mean? I'll just move my body to somewhere else. And so it's like the first 2 months you're there, like it's just like it was so much fun, and you're meeting all people. There's loads of people from like South America, and like I was really good friends with a guy from Australia and a guy from Argentina, and we'd like go out and have fun all the time. And like every day, and just working behind a bar is really fun when you're young, or could still be now, but it's like it was really sunny there. And then after a while, when you're like, if you're like living in a hostel like that, like long stay, it's like the people, the like gang that you were in with at first, like a lot of them have like gone home or whatever, and then you're like the one who remembers the gang. You know what I mean? Like you're like the guy who remembers the old gang, and then there's new people coming in, and they're forming their own little thing. Like, and you're like, "Oh, Jesus Christ,
like,
what the fuck is going on here?"
From Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Everyone's going off and doing movies and that. You're still there with Mr. Belding.
Yeah,
I'm still
there stabbing people in bars.
Still in the school.
Yeah. There's a philosopher called Alan Watts. He says to try and, if you feel like your life is like monotonous or whatever, try and make a game out of everything. You know what I mean? Like try. So I know some people just like while they're driving, try and like make the number plate add up to the right amount, or try and like get everything so that's square or something like that. And I kind of thought you could do that up to a point, and then you'd be like, "This game fucking sucks." Like
this is the saddest game of all time.
This is the worst game I've ever played.
I hate playing broken, lonely games.
It's like
Count the Reg
It's
game.
like Bus Driving Simulator is good to relax, but I don't want to play like from 8 till 8 Monday to Friday. You know what I mean?
They're trying to escape from jail game. It's very hard.
Yeah.
Alan Watts, he said a lot of things. That probably wasn't his best, but
yeah, I saw him voiceover for like a ferries company now. Apparently his son,
he's dead, isn't he?
He's dead, yeah, but apparently his son like allowed for like clips of him talking to be used for this ferry company ad for holidays, and I just thought, wow. You know what I mean? It's just
your father will be turning in his grave.
Yeah, he really would be turning in his grave. Like
he was like a Buddhist philosopher.
Yeah, exactly. He was not like.
I've heard his name, but I'm not.
It was pretty much a lot of Buddhism.
Yeah, a lot of Buddhism,
right.
and Eastern philosophy,
well,
like.
Buddhists love boats.
I
have no idea.
Not as much as consumerism.
I think Buddhism is good. There's so many different Buddhist statues, and they all look like they're having a great time. They're just sitting around with their tops off. They're all gold. They're lying down. There's the reclining Buddha.
I went to one in. I think it's like the world's biggest one. It's called Borobudur. I think it's called. It's in Indonesia. Borobudur. I think it's called. Okay. I think. It's
like a Buddhist loan shark. Borobudur.
But we went. You had to go. Me and my friend were over in Indonesia for a while, and then you had to go to this thing at like 6 a.m. because it got way too hot, because it was going to be like 45 degrees by like 12. You know what I mean? It was going to be like ridiculously hot. So we were like, do you ever do this? In your head when you picture, I imagine myself going to the Colosseum, and it's just like me and my girlfriend holding hands looking at the Colosseum, and then you go there and you're like, oh, right, there's 10 million people here because this is one of the most popular places in the world. You know what I mean? So we went to this, and we were kind of picturing like 6 a.m. You climb up this temple. We were like, oh, it'd be so nice and peaceful. And then you get there, and there's like 10 guys trying to sell you like, those helicopters that spin. You're like,
so zen.
It's so beautiful. And he's like, my friend, because it is you. Because I'm like, you don't know who I am. No. Don't tell my boss. You cannot tell my boss. But that I'm giving you a morning price. Okay, you cannot like he's looking around like someone might find out he's given me this good a deal on a ball in a cup. You know what I mean? You're going up the temple. You're going to want something from me, my friend.
You know Alan Watts. He loves ball in a cup.
And of course, we went to like the top of the temple, and we're sitting there. We're going, wow, it's amazing, isn't it? But again, it was fucking crawling with people. There was like 2,000 people there. And of course, the guy like sitting directly beside us was like, I thought it'd be quieter. We're like, oh, great, a fucking Cork man. It's like there's always some fucking guy from Cork. I don't know. I prefer the one in Cork. It's kind of smaller, but it's quieter.
And I know all them there.
There's no Michael Collins statue here.
Yeah. Oh, how was the temple? Oh, great, man. I got these magnets and a slide whistle.
Yeah. Those little helicopters things are everywhere around the world, no matter what statue you're going to. You're going to Medjugorje, or what's the one in France where you
Lourdes?
get healed? Lourdes. You'd be like getting into the water.
They said you like a spinning Mary.
Yeah.
Went to Machu Picchu and got a fidget spinner.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, man, Indonesia, that was cool. Did you do just there, or did you go around Asia a bit?
No, we were just we went like all the way through Indonesia. I went down to Bali, stayed in Bali for a couple of weeks.
A lot of Aussies there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was this Canadian guy that we kind of got in with, and he like, we would go and take drugs and like have no idea what drugs we were taking. You know what I mean? Like just, oh, here's this blue pill, and you find out it's like crystal meth crushed down and stuff like that. Like, you know, crazy, taking mushrooms and going on motorbikes. And like my friend crashed off his motorbike, got this big scar across his face. But the last night,
great crack.
Yeah. But the last night we were going, before we were leaving, so we had to fly to Jakarta and get like a connecting flight then. And we'd been out like taking drugs the night before, but the flight wasn't until like 9 at night. So we were like, it's okay. Like that's what we were thinking as we were taking the drugs. That'll be okay. Whatever, whatever I need to tell myself in order for me to take these drugs now. And I got up the next day, you know, like late, you know what I mean, like 4 o'clock. But I was like, okay, we got to get to the airport soon, or whatever. And I said to my friend, I was like, okay, we got to go now. And he was like, I can't get on the flight. I was like, no, we gotta get in the flight because it takes like 2 days to get back to Ireland. So it's important that we catch this flight. And he's like, no, I can't go. And I was like, why? He's like, Danny, there's worms crawling out of your eyes. I was like, right. So I was like trying to convince him, you know, just we can be cool in the airport. And he's like, no, we definitely can't be cool in the airport. So he was like, there's no way we can be chill. Like, I was like, fucking hell. You're like, what can you do? I was like, so I got someone who worked at the hotel, gave me like a motorbike ride out to the airport. And I just went and said, my friend, he's in hospital and they're going to let him out tomorrow. He broke his nose or whatever. So we can't make the flight. Like, can you put me on another one? And they were like, yeah, we can put you on another one. But it was going to be like 2 hours late to get to our connecting flight. And we were like, I was like, okay, have to take that because, well, he's still in the hotel fucking climbing the walls. So when we got our connecting flight, or we got our flight back to Jakarta, right? And we got there fully 2.5 hours after our flight was supposed to leave. And we were like, imagine it was delayed, right? So we're like sprinting through the airport, like bags flying, absolutely stinking, like, you know, just up to the gate, like
worms flying out of your
we're here for the connecting for Amsterdam, is it? And they were like, yeah, that left 2 hours ago, like it was supposed to. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're like, absolutely not. In no way did you make it.
Was there no screen that said the flights?
We honestly just like went in and fucking just bombed. You know what I mean? We were just like, because it had on our tickets it said the gate or whatever. Like,
Hold the gate!
Hold the gate! Hold the fires! It's like the least romantic, right, like the end of a rom-com. You know, you get. Is she still here? No, she's landed now. She's on the other side.
So did you have to buy another flight then?
Yeah, we got back. What was great though, we did get our flight back was oversold, possibly because we were on it and we got the bump to first class. Right? So amazing. Whoa. Yeah.
So say that again. So the flight that you got first class flight on the next one, first class flight on the next one.
By accident, right? Because it was amazing. Because I said they said there was like talk up at the desk or whatever that the flight had been oversold, and I was like, oh, imagine that we got the bump. You know what I mean? And my friend was like, oh, that'd be ridiculous. But we did. So we got a flight from Jakarta to I think it was Amsterdam or Paris. I can't remember what the connection one was back. And we got bumped to first class, right? I was in this Led Zeppelin t-shirt that I fucking reeked. Like, I'm not like, I stunk. It was like 2 weeks of partying, like no chance to wash your clothes or whatever, like, you know what I mean? And you'd been running to catch that flight that we just missed.
Worms coming out of your shoulders.
I was wearing like combats. They were like fucking muddy. Like, I smell bad. Like, and we weren't sitting beside each other. We were sitting like next to other people. And I was sitting beside this like businessman in a in a suit and with his like laptop and everything. And I could see him just kind of like look at like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, look at me. And I just like, after a while I just went, I'm in a band. And he just kind of went, okay. Like, I said, I know that those people are like, yeah. I was that, no, I don't even have that excuse. It's just a disgusting human being.
And the moral of that story is drugs are great. Drugs are great. Cheers, Rero.
Cheers, Rero.
That's top
Cheers,
story.
Rero.
Man, I love it. I thought that was going to be an Detroit. Man, that was a happy ending story.
Yeah.
Yeah. First class. It's got thousands to bump yourself up.
Wait, can I just ask though? Did you still have to buy another flight after you missed your flight, and then you got bumped up on that flight?
So we still had to pay extra, but it ended up
being extra
service. Yeah. And I got to tell you, like, that was the only time I've ever flown first class, and it might be the only time I ever can afford it. Like,
because you didn't.
Because I couldn't afford it, which I couldn't afford even then.
In my Led Zeppelin t-shirt.
Like,
that was the only time I could afford that kind of thing.
Which, of course, I could not. No, I mean, I could afford it again if I didn't pay my rent for 3 months and just took one flight.
And no return. But
yeah.
What was the story? They give you dinner?
It was, it was actually sensational. I would recommend being rich to anyone because it was so nice. It was actually pleasant to fly. You know what I mean? The seats are way bigger. Even the in-flight movies are better. They don't
edit out any of the sex scenes.
yeah. They don't show them to people in coach because they might get horny, and you know what people like that are like.
You don't want to find people horny.
Yeah.
It's all just taxes. Eventually, getting your first class flight is you're just writing that off as a tax expense. That's all that is. It's all business people.
Yeah.
Like, I can just write it off on tax. Why not get a $3,000 flight?
Yeah.
It's just going to be offset my taxes. It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And everyone's winning then. The rich people are all winning because they're like, why pay for some schmuck's hospital bills when I can get...
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the issue for us is that you have to have the $3,000 in your account in the first place in order to get it back later on.
Yeah.
But,
that's the hard bit, we'll get there. So you travel around Ireland, doing loads of gigs around Ireland?
Yeah, I'm going to Luxembourg and Amsterdam, The Hague. That's unrelated to comedy. And where else am I going to be? Utrecht, I think. No, Eindhoven. Sorry.
Is this like a circuit that someone runs? Or
it's like a circuit that someone runs. So I was just in Scandinavia recently. Same guy runs a circuit, and
nice.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. That's in 2 weeks, so that'll be really nice. Yeah.
Speaking of gigs, the Crackdown's going to start soon.
It's going to start soon, man.
Woo, 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 woo.
Excited, man.
Anything you want to close on? Is there any do you have any issues you hold close to your heart?
I've got an issue that I'm holding close to my bladder for the last 10 minutes or so.
Well, we're glad you mentioned that. We got this catheter from one of your gigs.
Thanks to Reraw. It'll run right through you, folks.
Reraw fills up your bladder in an instant. It's so good. You just want to keep drinking it. And then your handle is Danny Ryan Comedy, is that right?
At Danny Ryan Comedy on everything, yeah.
Sweet,
man.
Yeah.
Any gig coming up you want to plug? Any?
Unless you can get to the Crackdown tonight. No, I'll have... after the European tour, I'm going to be doing a work in progress in Limerick for a solo show. That'll be in July, I think, but I don't have the date yet, so just keep an eye out.
Danny Ryan Comedy, check it out. And then are you gonna tour the show? Are you gonna bring it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little tour in Ireland and hopefully take the show back to Amsterdam as well.
Man.
As long as I don't bomb when I go there. So yeah. So it should be a fun year.
Nice. That's great. I'm looking forward to that. And have you got a show title? Show titles?
No, I see.
Let's workshop it.
yeah, I'm gonna have to. I quite like the simplicity when people just say like, you know, Danny Ryan live or whatever. Like I kind of, because when try to think of like a punny title, I'm just like, you get too fucking clever for your own good sometimes. I don't know. Eddie looks like you have one in mind or something.
No.
No?
No. I was thinking when you said punny titles, they can sound. Then I just went through all the different punny titles I've had.
Oh yeah,
show.
that was a direct shot. I looked at Damo, but it was
every show I've done is.
Let's run through your show titles, Eddie. Let's.
Ireland's full of malarkey.
Yeah.
What was the next show I did?
You like had an Irish solution for an Irish problem.
An Irish solution to an Irish problem.
That's not punny. That's okay.
Yeah. And I won't go through the rest. That's all right. That's enough.
Man, listen to the puns on this one. Gadamo.
Gadamo, yeah.
That's thanks to Carl Spain, because when he just sees me, he just goes, Gadamo.
Yeah.
So, Gadamo is great. It's a good day to Damo. That doesn't make any sense.
Very
doesn't make any sense.
Some crossover in the material as well there.
Maybe the way a really Australian person might, a good day to die might be a little bit closer to it.
Good day to die.
Yeah, good day to day.
Grand Theft Damo?
Grand Theft Damo you had as well.
Grand Theft Damo.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Well, come on, you had more than this.
Yeah, I can't think of one.
I had Jess Life was one. Jess Life. It's like a play on Westlife, even though I have nothing to do with Westlife. Washing Grandad's Legs was my first Edinburgh show.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good
yeah,
title,
that's funny, man.
I kind of thought it would. That was actually on in like a cafe, like for recovering addicts or whatever, and they were like.
That was just by chance. That's not
just by chance,
not by choice.
Not by choice. Yeah, that was just like what I was given. It was like I think it was only like my third year doing comedy or whatever, and the guys. Like you'd get audience in, but there'd also be people who were just in the cafe that would come. It was like next door. It was actually like a decent enough room. Like you get the people.
Take what people are. You can get in for your.
Yeah,
show.
exactly. And I remember when I was doing it, there's these two guys that would come in and they'd sit like front row and they'd be there like every day, and I'd be like, guys, it's gonna be pretty much the same show, you know. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. But you'd be doing the show, and then one of them would go, hey, I've got one for you, right? And then they'd tell you, I'd be like, okay, go on. And they'd tell me a joke. And then I go, very good. They told me a joke like almost every day. It was great. It was like a little gimmick to the show, you know.
Well, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Danny, for coming.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, send it to your friends. Drop us a review on Spotify or whatever medium.
Share it in our WhatsApp groups.
Or sign up to our Patreon. We've lost one Patreon recently, so we need more.
Yeah.
Oh, my granny, she has to pay her heating bills. So
that's true.
Cost of living crisis. We put it down to that as well.
This, what do you call it? I was going to say interview, but that sounded a bit serious. Chat. But the whole video of it, the full episode is on that, and the other episode on there as well.
Yeah.
And a couple of Crowdwork specials from Eddie and myself.
Yeah, and our YouTube channel's booming these days.
Yeah, jump on our YouTube, Craic. Just look up Craic then Comedy Club on
Loads
YouTube.
of live stand-up.
And Insta and our Grinder.
Yes, thank you.
Our Grinder's flying as well at the moment, so that's quite good, isn't it? So cool.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Thanks, Re-Rock.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Danny
Okay.
Ryan.
Danny Ryan Comedy.
Hey.
See you guys. All right.